see Liam Eichenberg in uniform, Saturday would be what?
Dude.
It's random, I know.
Bingo. I knew that was coming. I work with Ann. Come on. The likelihood, I don't know, 50-50.
And I know obviously we'll get the injury report later, and there's some things you probably don't want to disclose for a few hours, understandably. Anything more you want to share with regard to Teron, Wilson? And if the answer is no, certainly understand.
No, I think I saw an energetic and exuberant Teron Armstead in meetings. So that's good.
Mike, I saw you with the I wish it were colder t-shirt. Where did that come from, and what message were you trying to, maybe send to your players?
I mean, that was, it was not intended to be anything but something that it's just kind of a mentality for the team. I honestly forgot I had it on when I was out there with your guys' cameras, but I think in experience, for whether it was fate or whatever, I've only spent 1 year on a cold weather team in terms of coaching for one, which was Cleveland, and every other team, I've been kind of a warm weather coach, and in all those circumstances, you inevitably have to play cold games. So, philosophically, I think it's important to acknowledge before the day of the game what it is, but at the same time, it's a football game where the elements are the same for both people. So that's, I think, a way of emphasizing something but not obsessing about something was my objective. And you guys have seen the shirts that I had for, the point being is that we have a football game to play. I think it is the job of every player involved to get their mind right, to have their best performance. And bottom line is I don't see weather as something that you can lean on for an X, Y, or Z when you're competing at a game that you guys do professionally. I think if a team allows it to be a thing, then it's a thing. So that's our attempt for to acknowledge the obvious and move on as fast as possible.
The team you coached on last year pulled off the big playoff upset in a frigid environment, one labeled by many as frozen tundra. What were some characteristics of that team that made it successful in pulling off that venture?
Early in the week, that team decided that it wasn't going to be an issue, and I think that's something that I think I've learned in the course of my career, that if you decide that something's going to be something, the power of the mind is stronger than people realize, and it's something that can be embraced when you kind of realize that everyone's going through it as well. All of your teammates are. So that I think that strong-minded will is a characteristic that I've seen in this team. It's gone through some stuff already, in as a young team, went through stuff early in the season, and going through some stuff now, and I think that can be healthy if you have the will and the spirit. And I see a lot of guys that are capable of that, and that's my hope moving forward on Saturday.
Mike, you guys played Buffalo a long time ago, many games ago. What's different about your team since then? You have more confidence? Have you answered questions that you had? What's different?
Oh man, your team is in a steadily evolving organism, so to speak. And that that was game 3 of the season, and I think a lot of people were we're in that moment trying to prove that we were worthy of some of the better teams in the league to compete against, and I think we find ourselves in a situation. Anytime you lose games in a row in an NFL regular season, there's something that you have to that you feel like you have to go out and prove, just in general. But the players are there's some different players on the field, and the bottom line is none of it matters, because it's about preparing each day for one game that all the games before and all the games after are pretty much irrelevant. So on that day, who wants to strain the most, who wants to compete the most, and then who does their job and relies on their teammates. That generally is the team that wins. So whether we won or lost that game, it wouldn't really factor into this upcoming one, I don't think.
Can you shed some light on where Eric Rowe and Elijah Campbell stand right now? Those are two safeties that you could be without Saturday night.
That's right. So Elijah is currently in the concussion protocol. So you can ask the doctor about that one. And then as far as Rowe, I don't think we will be seeing him on Saturday night.
You're an introspective guy, it's pretty clear. I wondered how much in recent weeks have you spent time thinking after games, the last couple weeks, about how much of a running team you want to be? Obviously, passed the ball very well most of the season. It's been a pass-heavy team. Running the ball more, is that something you've given thought to after the last couple of games?
I mean, I think one potential mistake that can come across a decision maker's board is at any time not critically assessing what and why of everything. So, if you're that is no different than when we were on a winning streak for me. I've always valued the run game. I think you guys have followed my career enough to know that I've been involved in it, and have always really seen the line of scrimmage as the place where games are won and lost, and whether you're running or passing the ball, you are distributing it from the quarterback to another human being. And so what is that? How does that affect the line of scrimmage? Because that's the ultimate starting point for moving the ball, getting the scoring position, scoring points. I think that each game presents different obstacles, scenarios, and so you look at everything and say, where's our matchups? How can we do things well, and what gives us the best chance to win? I don't think I've really this season felt like I've, me personally, that I've done the job I totally want to in that area. So it's always a focus, but that it doesn't. I don't prioritize anything over what's the best thing for the team for that game, regardless of how I wish or don't wish to play football games. I think there's an integrity part that you have to do what the best is for the team, and every time we lose, it's very logical, and you can make an argument that part of the reason we lost is because of that, is because of decisions not to run it or whatever. That's the case of the National Football League and the position that I'm in. So I do prioritize it. I think I look at each and every week where we're at, and assess have we gotten better from the last. I know it was a light practice, but I feel like we have improved over the course of the season, and specifically learned some very, very valuable lessons in this past game where we can kind of control the line of scrimmage and possibly run the ball better. That won't. I think that when you're able to control the clock and have the ball, that's always an advantage. So that won't change, and hopefully we'll be happier with our hopefully we'll be happier with our output this coming week in the great weather.
What kind of progress has Eric Fisher made with another week with the organization, albeit a short week?
Yeah, it's a lot of progress considering he went 0 to 60 really quick. So he's doing a good job, and you can tell he's already assimilating into into the locker room. And when you're a successful player for a long time like he has been, it's just it's a pretty steady process, and then becomes very quick when you can take all the football and translate it into the language. And then what is being emphasized? That's generally what the process for offensive linemen. And he's proven to be a very dedicated, quick thinker. So, I think he's getting prepared and assimilating into the system, and the team is as fast as one could hope, really.
Mike, I'm doing something on advice and good advice people have received through their careers. Is there any, off the top of your head, anything that someone has said to you that resonated and helped you or made you think differently, or?
Don't lose. No, it was something that the first thought, I'm not sure relative on the scale, how big this is, but the first thing that came to my mind was a story that Coach Dan Quinn told me about having never keeping any sort of piece of information about how if something bothers you about a player, or if you think they can improve, you have to let them know for their own sake so that they can have the opportunity to fix it. There's sometimes that, things can bother you about how somebody's going about something, and the harm that it can do when you just assume that that's who that person is. If it bothers you enough, or just in general, you have to give them the opportunity to correct it before you judge really anything. And that he used a couple examples. I think it was the one that sticks out in my head was there was a guy at a team that he was on one time that had no idea that he was annoying a coach by the way he was dressing, and would have corrected it if it was brought to his attention. I think that's something that always stood out, is that you have to give people opportunities, and it's not fair to them. It's actually quite the opposite if you're really judging anybody on how they behave without communicating with them and giving the opportunity to fix anything.
Who's the coach? Who's the coach who told you?
Dan Quinn.
Oh, Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
Mike, a non-game related question. I'm working on a Christmas Day special, and I spoke to some of your players yesterday, and I asked them, if you could get a gift again you received as a kid, what would you want? And the answers range from golf clubs to hockey sticks, and right now,
Their parents.
a Super Bowl win. So if I told you today I'm going to interview Santa and talk to him, what would Mike McDaniel like as a gift, and maybe something he received as a child he could get again?
I mean, so I just went 4 different directions at the same time. So a gift that I received that I would receive again, or anything, or anything.
Or anything that you would like.
Friendship. No, I think one of the I think that Chris, I'm not a kid though, but if I could ever receive a gift again, one of the most magical Christmas gifts that I ever had was in 2020, which my wife's birthday is the day after Christmas. And so I'm always stressed out because it's during the season and I can never do it justice usually. Well, this Christmas, we were kicked out of California because of COVID, so we're in Glendale, and it was a rough time. It was a year after we had a lot of expectations. It wasn't going right, but that was the first Christmas that I had a daughter. That gift of family for me was very special. Being an only child with a single mom, and if I could ever experience something like that, talk to my wife, convince her that we should have a second kid, that'd probably be the best gift I could get.
I don't know if he can deliver that, but
I mean, let's see how persuasive you are.
All this about the different way you relate to your players and your positivity, and I'm just so curious. There are coaches, they read management books. Where do you get this from? Are you like a student of these management techniques? Are there coaches you emulate, or is this just kind of who you are based on your experience going back and even back to your playing days in college?
I don't know. There's certain things that I think I've been fortunate to be influenced by a lot of people. I also have a strong desire to do this job the right way, which I think is for the right reasons, which is to coach. So most of the stuff philosophically that I kind of do is reverse engineered. So like, what's the desired outcome? Okay, well, what am I really doing? And fixating on that probably in a super extreme way leads you to kind of think about things without looking at it like, all right, well, I'm mimicking something. I also, didn't grow up. I grew up invested in football, but I didn't really have a male role model. So I was kind of piecing together things, as you go. A lot of failures, and I think that combination of reverse engineering and then kind of approaching things without any sort of guide. You combine that with ambition, you just come up with your own formula that sticks to and never wavers from, am I making people better or worse? So that's something that is exhausting in general, just because when you're kind of thinking outside of, when you're not following a roadmap, it lends to a lot of double checking and second guessing within yourself to make sure. But I think over time you kind of realize it's a lot simpler than people make it. Players, coaches, they want you to care, and if they see that you can help them achieve their dreams, they will listen to anyone that looks like anything and sounds or behaves whatever. The primary importance is, are you adding value to those you work with? And as a head coach, that means everybody. And so that's where it starts and ends for me, problem solving in that direction. And then, like I said, I was fortunate to see a lot of different coaches do a lot of different things, but never have I ever mimicked someone, not out of intent, just because of learned behavior. It's just, I I just try to do things for the right reasons. Sometimes that's works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I think going at it at an exhaustive pace, over time you'll end with the best results, because again, people are counting on you to try to make them better. So that's all I really worry about.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.